Hi, I'm Brian. I'm one of the instructors at the Computer Workshop. Welcome to part 2 of our IFS series of videos. In this video, we are going to look at creating an actual IFS formula. Now, before we do this, we are going to take a look at the logic or the structure that exists in our document. So I want to start off by noticing here that we have this entire column, state, and you can see the values in this state will be either Ohio, New York, or Pennsylvania. These are the three things that I am looking for. I do not have business in other states. Over here, I'm going to have a little table that we've created that is going to give me the state and then the appropriate tax rate. So I need to be able to check to see what cell or what is in the value in the cells in the D column to determine the appropriate tax rate to apply to the subtotal. So this is the logical structure of our document. We have a single cell that we are going to search for a specific value. When we find that specific value out of a series of values, we will then run the math accordingly. Let's take a look at the logical structure of that ifs formula. So you can see here that this will allow you to have up to 127 conditional checks. When the condition is found to be true, then whatever argument you have added for that conditional response or that conditional check will be put into play. Now, you can see here in this little example, I have logical test 1. If this is true, we're going to go ahead and do the value if this is true. If this is not true, we will continue to check for the next possible value. If this is true, then we will do this. And then we will continue to check and see and see and see. As soon as we get to the first one that is returning a true response, the formula will stop running. There are no falses in this formula. We are looking for something from a series of available options. If something is encountered outside of those parameters that we define in each logical test, then the formula will return an NA error. This will be demonstrated in just a moment. So this is the syntax of the formula. Now let's go ahead and look at the actual formula. So I'm going to come back to my simple sheet. Once again, I have a single value that I'm looking for inside of a single cell in order to run the math to calculate the sales tax. Now I'm going to zoom in up close so that you can see this information. At this point, we don't really need to see any of these columns E, F, and G. So I'm going to just highlight all three of these and make them very, very narrow. I know that we're going to see these pound signs and things. This just indicates that the column is not wide enough to show me the data that is in those cells. For now, that is perfectly fine. In fact, I'm going to just come up here, right click on these, and I'm going to hide them to bring them out of the way. Let's now go ahead and look at this formula we have in cell H2. So I'm going to double click into this to make the formula visible. And you can see this begins with an equal, as every formula, and then we have the ifs function. This is the new ifs that is available in Excel 2016 and Excel 2019 and Excel 365. It is not available in 16. So the first logical test will be to see if cell D2 contains or is equal to NY. Now you may look at my text here, NY, and see that it is encapsulated inside of full quotes. Because I am looking for text or language, I must enclose that search inside of quotation marks, and that does include mathematic expressions because those are another form of language. So if you had something as equal to or greater than, that would also require being held inside of quotes. This is my first logical test, and then I have a little quick math formula here if this is true. So if this is true, I'm going to take the subtotal and I'm going to add that to the subtotal which has been multiplied to the tax rate. So this is done first, and then those results are going to be combined or added together to give me my answer. If this is not true, if cell D2 does not contain NY, I will then go ahead and start to search for PA. I want you to notice here, in the first, these were lowercase. In the second and others, they are uppercase. I wanted you to see that this is not case sensitive. So you can type this in whatever case that you'd like, and it will not impact the search results, or the results, I should say, of the formula. So logical test 2 is to search if D2 has Pennsylvania, and if it does, we're going to go ahead and run the math. So this would be our second conditional pair, and then we would start to search for the third conditional pair. And I do want to draw your attention to the fact that the final parenthesis in your formula should be shown as black. Black parentheses indicate the beginning and completion of the function formula being utilized in this cell. Now I'm going to go ahead and just escape out of this and show you how, if we change these values, so let's say that I will make this NY, and I'm going to do it in lowercase. I could use the Enter key and then reselect the cell, but if I use the keyboard shortcut of Control Enter, that will apply my edit and keep the same cell selected. So now you can see that that total has changed in relation to what state we are in. If I were to come back into that cell and type in PA, Control Enter, you can see it has changed yet again. If I were to search for a state that is not within the parameters of the states that I'm looking for, as I mentioned earlier, I will get an NA return. Not applicable. I cannot find FL. This is a false, and there is no response to that other than NA. If I put in a correct state, let's do an OH. Actually, let's make that in all caps to keep with the formatting of the rest, and we will see the correct response coming back. So this is a really nice and simple ifs formula where we're checking for a specific single value in a single cell out of a range of possible values. We're going to continue into the next tutorial to begin discussing the search and isNum, and then finally we will end with the entire set of those three formulas all combined together so that we can search for a specific value, in this case the state, when it is in a cell that contains other information. So instead of having to create multiple columns to break this up, we will be able to still search within this rather, shall we say, complicated single cell value for a specific entity within it. So those are going to be our next lessons, or next tutorials I should say. So until then, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'd also like to say if you like what you've seen so far, please feel free to subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Take care for now.